Alright guys, thanks for joining me again with yet another video about these odd shapes that I've found all over Google Earth that seem to be the shapes of giant gargantuan creatures. The one that we're looking at right now from the tip, and I drew this eye right here just so you could get kind of a frame of reference. So this is from this imaginary eye that I drew to the tip of this split tail is well over 2,000 miles long. And this is obviously the Philippines. So now, if you look at this, it looks like an animal laying down that's decayed and that is being, slowly eroded away. It looks like that. So let's just go from the head here, and then I'm going to show another picture without the outline so you can see it without the outline. But it's easier with the outline first, like I said in my previous video, and then we'll go to it without the outline. So let's start at the head here. Now, when you look at this, it looks like the head of some type of a reptile or skin or something. And again, the eyes there just so you can kind of, zone in on what I'm showing you. So if we go down here, you'll see the neck. You'll see what looks to be, and even look in the middle here, what seems to be like a backbone almost, right? These parts of the island are backbone. And it's eroding away. Now here's the back, here's the front leg, and you can see all of this that is eroded away over time. And if you go around the belly, the underbelly, here's a back leg. Right? Oops, didn't mean to draw that, but here's a back leg. If you go on this side, now this is really interesting over here. If you go on this side, you clearly see the bend in the joint right there and the rest of this withered away leg. And you clearly see that apart from that, there's no space in between, but where these mountains and these islands begin is a tail. And what is this tail in? In a split tail. Now we're going to talk about this tail for a minute because this is the one thing that I really want people to understand when you look at this video. Okay, so this may look like the outline of a dinosaur, some type of a lizard, or some type of a giant beast that's 2,000 miles wide. But that's on, I'm paraphrasing what people would be saying. So that's what I'm doing. So people may just say that, oh, you're just looking at a shape and it just happens to look like a dinosaur. So when we get to this tail, obviously you see the two sides of this tail. Now, if you look at my first video, which I apologize for the noise and I was just having some major issues, but I wanted to get the video up and, I didn't want to hold on any longer. So I may take it down and redo it and put it back up. But anyway, in my first video, the South America continent and the North American continent, both of the creatures that I feel make up some of that continent or all of the continents, they end up in split tails. And these split tails are, let me see if my mouse will, yeah, these split tails are everywhere, all over the planet. And the tails of these creatures are everywhere. So now let's look at this tail a little bit on this creature. Now I want to talk about symmetry also. If you look at this split right here, you see this side and you see this side. Now look at this appendage right out here. Directly across from that appendage is what seems to be in another appendage, but either broken off or this empty part right here was once the the missing part of this appendage. So if that's the case, directly across from this appendage is something that looks to be the same shape and size as this over here. And that's odd. And then look at this. So that would be odd if that's just a coincidence for these things just to happen to line up like that right across from each other. And as we're looking at this, I feel we're looking at some giant creature that is laying down and decomposing, and again, we are tiny, 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 tiny little beings on the bodies of these things. And look at the color, the lush, beautiful grass and the lush, beautiful trees that make up the Philippines and make up this beautiful area. Um, it looks like stuff that could be grown in a petri dish. So when it comes to who we are and what we are, we've been told who we are and what we are by a group of men. But I've yet to find a group of men who haven't been mistaken on something. Or I have yet to find a nation or a country in history that was totally for the people, and they were totally for, justice and peace and joy and understanding, and they were for the people 100%. So if we question the government and politicians that make up the government, well, these institutional systems are directly connected to the governments. And so this is no ill speaking against the government or any particular group of people, but I'm simply saying that the stories that we've been told, the stories that we've been handed down, are just stories by groups of men that can be influenced and that can be mistaken, or they can have an agenda. Or if some people have dedicated their lives to a certain field of study, some are not humble enough to say that maybe they made a mistake or maybe they were in error. So now, I said all that to say this. This looks like a creature laying down decomposing, okay? You say what you want. I know it's far fetched for some people, but that's what it looks like. Now we're going to look at this thing. Um, okay, we're going to look at it without the outline. So here is the head again. It looks kind of reptilian, if you look at it, and the neck is going on around. Obviously, looks like a back or a side or something. You look down the middle, it kind of looks backbone-ish right up in there. And this tail going on around, the symmetry of the appendages and the missing appendage, which looks like could have been an indentation or something right here, but this side is still here, this side is not. Now look at this right here, where it looks like almost you can tell like it's a hip structure, and you clearly see that. I clearly see what looks to be like a hip type structure right up in this area, pelvic type structure. It's pelvic looking when you look at it. Even the underbelly has or the side, which to me this kind of looks like the side. You know how creatures, if you've seen roadkill, or if you've seen creatures laying that have been decomposed for quite some time, they're in all kind of positions, and their back is, turned one way, and everything is just kind of turned, and they flat and just look very out of shape, but you can still see the shape. So you obviously see the shape of this, because this back here looks just like a leg that's splayed out. And directly across from this leg that's splayed off, let's go directly across, boom, is another leg. And then let's go in between these legs is a tail, which ends in a split, which all these creatures all over our world have these split tails. And the neck, the front leg. I don't know if this up here could have possibly been the front leg, or if the front leg is underneath this, or underneath the body somewhere under here. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that's what it looks like. And again, it looks like it's eroding away into the salt water. So this massive giant oceans plural, that surround us and that we are, that is the majority of our world, looks to be a shallow-ish pool to very massive gargantuan creatures, which seems to be breaking their bodies down. And it seems to be, I don't know, is it on purpose that they're all in this watery area? And who knows? This is all just guesswork, this is all just imagination. But the shape, I don't think you can argue about it. Now, you can just say that I'm imagining it, and that's fine. I get it. But let's look at this and look at the head of this creature. Look at the back. Look at the tail that goes on, pelvic area. Look at that. Look at the stomach. Look at the front legs. Look at these. And if this thing fell and these giant legs were splayed out, one would be twisted this way, the tail would be splayed out that way, his head would be in front of him, just like this. Just like this, laying out just like this giant, beautiful Philippine area, which, some beautiful people. I know a person that's from there, and she's a wonderful person. Beautiful people, and a beautiful land on top of this decaying creature. So, if anybody ever feels brave enough to leave a comment and be known that you're looking at these videos, I won't mind it a bit. So, any feedback is helpful. I appreciate it, and I will show you some more animals at a later time. Stay tuned.